everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Tali. If you're new to this channel, if you're not, welcome back. So for today, I'm going to be sharing my February TBR with you guys. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys all the books that I read for the month of February. Today is March 1st, so I am trying to keep up with all the books that I plan on reading for the month of March. Let's get going with the video. For the month of February, I read 5 books in total, and I just read a combination of different genres. I enjoyed reading every single book that I read for this month. The first book that I read was The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This one was on my TBR for the longest time ever. I have watched The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the film, so many times, but I never came across reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the book. So I finally did it this month. So one of my favorite quotes from this book was, "You see things, you understand, you're a wallflower." And this was said by Patrick, one of the main characters in the book, who becomes Charlie's best friend. I started reading this with very good expectations as of all the lovely characters and the main plot of the book. There were a lot of themes that I really related to in the story, which are introversion, sexuality, drug abuse, rape, and mental health. And these are very important themes in the story because a lot of us relate to it, and that's why it has become one of the most popular books. It also makes a lot of references to film, literature, and it has a lot of good book recommendations and a lot of good music, which I really truly enjoyed from this book and was one of my favorite things ever. Okay, story begins with a 15-year-old boy named Charlie. He's the protagonist of the story, and he begins to write letters to an unknown recipient, or as he calls his friend. So when I started reading the story, I really thought of Charlie as my friend, and as I was reading his letters, he begins telling his experience with high school. He also states 2 traumatic experiences that he experienced during high school, and those are the suicide of his friend Michael and the death of his aunt Helen. Then he becomes friends with 2 of the other characters in the book, which are Patrick and Sam. These are very lovely characters. Ellie is characterized as a quiet boy who keeps to himself, and he's always thinking about different things. He watches people, but he never judges them, which is something very good about Charlie. So some messages that this book sends out to its readers are that so many bad things happen to good people, but that didn't make them a bad person. Sam and Charlie. Charlie's dad decided that he wasn't going to be like his stepfather, hid him and his dad's mom. And it's not just a story of growing up in high school, but it's also a story of friendship, life, and love. I highly recommend if you're in high school or if you want to read a coming of age fast read. So I rated this a 5 out of 5. Obviously, it was one of my favorite books for the month. Don't be falling asleep on me now.
Don't go dying on me.
Let me take a sip of my coffee. The second book that I read for the month was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Actually, my second YA fantasy novel I have ever read in my life. I know it's very sad. Honestly, truly fell in love with this book. Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard introduces the reader into a world that is divided by 2 different bloods, are red and silver. Mare Barrow, she's the protagonist of the story, and her family and her are lowly reds. They're destined to serve the silver elite, whose supernatural abilities make them nearly gods. Mare, she steals what she can to help her family survive, but then a twist of fate leads her to the royal palace, and she discovers an ability that she didn't know she had. Superpowers, betrayal, and romance. What else do you need in a fantasy? Mare is the main character in the story. It's told in the first person point of view, and it also includes italics to state phrases that she's thinking or any quotes that she's thinking at that moment. For example, there is a quote in the book in the beginning of the story. It is, "I am finally learning my lesson. Anyone can betray anyone." It becomes her mantra, showing her caution of not to trust anyone. I believe that the story was predictable at times, but overall it was very captivating because of the silver elite, superpowers, and Mare's twist of life. The beginning of the story was the most exciting of Cal's character, and it very deeply surprised me. However, turns out to be my least favorite character. Another thing that I really liked about this book was the love triangle. It was very exciting, and throughout the book I was team Team Maven because Call was just very annoying. He was very mean. He had nothing in common with Mare. I always end up liking complicated guys and stories. Some themes that I noticed in the book was inequality, trust, and betrayal. The story does include a lot of betrayal between different characters. One example is Mare. She betrays her family. My favorite part from the book was when Cal and Maven allow Mare to go see her family. It was very emotional because the last time she saw them, she was being taken away and she thought that she was never going to see them again. Also, it's also me.
Ya, gomítales.
It's also a part where the two siblings, Cal and Maven, they show that they truly care about each other. My overall rating for this book was a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the cliffhanger, the ending, and it got me very excited to read the second book. I would have rated this a 5 out of 5, but Mare is supposed to be the strong character because of her superpower that she identifies in the beginning of the story, and she has a lot of advantages, but she's really gullible. Overall, I really enjoyed reading this book and it had an amazing ending, and I can't wait to read the second book of this series. Alright! The third book that I read for the month of February was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is a young historical fiction book. It is about the tragedy that occurred on January 30th, 1945 of the sinking in the Baltic Sea a Soviet submarine of the Wilhelm Gustloff. It was a German cruise liner. So thousands of people are escaping amidst of a Soviet advance, vying for passage aboard the ship. And this ship promises safety and freedom. So this book is told in 4 different points of view. 4 refugees who are escaping. Each one of them were born in different homelands and each of them hide a secret. Sepetys, if you have not heard of this author, historical novels are published for 50 countries, with one of her newest novels called Fountains of the Silence, which I have put in my TBR as well because I really enjoyed reading from Ruta Sepetys. The story is introduced by these 4 different characters, meaning that guilt, fate, and shame, and fear are all hunters. So Joanna is the strongest and the smartest character from all. She is the nurse and she's very helpful to the people who she meets through the road and to the rest of the characters. All the characters felt really real to me because obviously it's a historical fiction. Each had a story to tell, and I feel like the author did a great job at explaining their stories. I feel like it brought so many emotions when reading this. Yes, it is a very emotional and a very sad story because they're escaping from something. They experience death on their road to this ship, and I feel like when the author put their point of view in each chapter, I think that it was amazing because we're reading what they're feeling. We're reading how they felt on their journey. And just reading of their past just made me very sad because they had their family. They had to leave their family behind, and it was just very emotional because I put my feet in their shoes and I'm just like thinking of leaving my family behind. That just makes me very sad. I definitely rated this a 5 out of 5 because I just loved all the characters. I loved the plot. And a lot of people don't know about this ship, that it sunk and killed a lot of people. And I feel like it's very important and a very important epic tragedy. I really loved the cover because there are different shoes in the front cover and it does state something in the book about them. I really truly highly recommend you guys reading it if you haven't read it already. Fourth book that I read was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This is a thriller and yes, a mystery. This is the first book that I have ever read from Paula Hawkins, and I'm very glad that I actually read it because it is a major motion picture. I actually did not end up finishing the movie. The main character is Rachel. She's an alcoholic. She drinks way too freaking much. She takes the same commuter train every single day and night. She passes the same cozy neighborhood every single day and she sees the same people every day. Now, who she sees is her ex-husband. and a couple houses down lives a couple that she has become obsessed with, I guess you can say. She begins to call them Jess and Jason because she doesn't know their real name. But the ex-husband cheated on her. It's a very slow read in the beginning because you just had to get to understand the story very well. It was confusing at times because I didn't know exactly what was going on, and I just needed to like adapt to the characters well. But once I got to the actual plot of the story, I just wanted to read more and more just because it was very slow in the beginning. I rated it a 4 out of 5. Really loved how the author put the points of views of the different women in the story, which are Rachel, Megan, who is the neighbor of her ex-husband, and her ex-husband's new wife, Anne. But there is a huge plot twist in the story in the end de este libro, cabrones. Cabroncitos, cabroncitos pelositos. And the last...
Oh my shot!
Wait. So for the last book, cabroncitos.
So for the last book, cabroncitos. So for the last book that I read, shut the hell up. So the last book that I read for the month of February, it was All the Bright Places, and I already did a review on this book. I rated it a 5 out of 5. I actually finished the movie last night with my sister, and I was bawling. I was crying so hard because it was just very sad. And if you have watched it, let me know what you thought about it, because I freaking enjoyed both book and movie. I love Finch. I love the person who they brought. I love who they brought.
What the
I love Finch's character in the movie. I think they chose the perfect Finch. Those were all the books of the month that I read. I had a really good reading month. I hope you guys did too. That is all for today. I am so hyper right now, so caffeinated, because I just drank 2 cups of coffee. If you don't follow me on my Bookstagram, I will put the link down below. I will be doing a giveaway soon for reaching 1K followers. But that is all for today. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you guys next time, and hope you have a great start of March. Bye! What?
You said soon. I'm your one.
Oh my god. ¡Ya está salada!
Salada.
Sacada.